Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spiderslayer. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to another countdown. That's right, we're on countdown episode number 43. Now, I apologize for the lack of videos for this past couple weeks, getting over the holidays, trying to get back into the swing of things, getting into a routine again. So I'm happy to say that hopefully starting this new comic book week, you'll be seeing more videos, more individual reviews, uh, different things like that, just getting back on track. So this week I wanted to get back to the countdown. We're on episode number 43, the first full week of a full slot of comics. There was a total of 14 comics altogether. No digital copies this week, but there was 14 books altogether. So with that being said, let's get started with the countdown, and we start with number 14. And number 14 was wah, wah, wah. That's right, guys. A Revolutionary War Alpha. This is issue number one from the one of the new number one books that are from Marvel this year. And let me just say that this book was a bust for me. I kind of had great expectations for this book, and I just felt myself not interested, not connected to any of the characters whatsoever. And I felt that they threw way too much into the book, trying to get you to know a little bit about all these characters. I'm just like, whoa, take a step back here. And it literally was a cluster, and I really did not enjoy it at all. I felt that the only bright spot in this book was the artwork. And when I came to these first two pages right here, I am honestly going to sit there and tell you that I was super excited. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, this has got pretty good artwork. And as the issue continued and continued, I'm just like, oh no. And then they have Mephetso in there, and I just did not like it. So this was definitely a disappointment for me. Again, besides the artwork that is provided here, I just did not like the story, and it's just not my taste. So I'm going to give this book a 2 out of 5, and that is number 14 on the list. So moving forward, we go on to number 13, and number 13 is XFactor, the all-new issue number 1 from All New Marvel Now. Um, Again, this was another book that uh, didn't really capture my attention. I don't mind Gambit. I think he's a pretty cool character. The writer here is Peter David. He wrote the last X Factor series, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to really read it. So when this came out, I was super excited about it. But when I look at it, I'm sitting there going, well, there's nothing really here that's exciting me to get the next issue. The artwork for me was so-so. I think at times it's okay, but then at other times it's just, I don't know, it just didn't appeal to me. I felt body structures were okay, and I thought, but I thought it lacked that detail, and the colors didn't feel right to me in this book. It didn't seem to mesh well. Um, However, I am going to give this book a second try because I really want to like X Factor. I read X Factor back in the day from its original incarnation with the X-Men and whatnot, and then the series continued from there. And I didn't read the last series, but I really want to like it. Now, hopefully, it gets better as it goes on. But if I'm going to give this around 3-4 issues, if it's not better by then it will be dropped as well. I really want to like this though, so I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. It was just Dullsville for me. It actually almost put me to sleep. Um, but I like the concept here, like sponsored by Serval Industries and whatnot. So it had certain moments in there, but for the most part, I didn't dig it at all. All right, so going on, we're going to move on to number 12. And number 12 was Green Lantern issue number 27. Now, the rest of the books here kind of separate themselves from these first two. However, Green Lantern is that first book that is the worst of the better of the books. I didn't mind this issue, however, it was pretty generic. You know, we have a shapeshifter here, which we've seen before in Marvel, obviously, with, you know, the scrolls or whatnot. And in this issue, what happens is you get to see a few different things. You get to see, you know, Green Lantern, their home, their headquarters now is on Mogo, and they're trying to put everything back together. And you know, you get to see a little bit of that. You get to see Saint Walker, who's not well and who has basically lost hope. There's certain things in there. You also don't get the regular artist that's on Green Lantern, and that's Billy Tan. And Billy Tan is not doing the artwork. However, the artwork wasn't bad. It was a good fill-in artist. I didn't mind the artwork. The colors were good. And basically, this story had to do with Prixum Null Age, I think her name was. And it was all her people, her little cronies that they captured in jail or whatnot, and they wound up escaping. And the Green Lantern Corps winds up having to try to capture them, but they let two of them go because there was this chef, supposedly, that's been posing as a chef and wants to frame the Green Lantern Corps or whatnot. It's a very weird story. But however, these guys escape, and it was just weird, you know, in a way. This creature poses as Hal Jordan. He's a shapeshifter, so all he has to do is like touch Hal, and he winds up broadcasting all over the universe saying that we're the Green Lantern Corps. We're going to police everybody. We're going to arrest you if you, you know, use the spectrum wrong and whatnot. And so the whole universe is just not on Hal's side at this time. And it just felt a little bit generic and just, I don't know. I'm not happy with Green Lantern at this point. It wasn't a horrible book. You know, I've read worse, but it wasn't great either. So I'm going to give this, I'm going to lean it to you guys. You know, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was okay. On the verge of 2.75, but you know, it's up to you guys if you want to get it. So we'll see where it goes. So now moving on, we're going to move on to number 11, and number 11 was Batwing issue number 27. This was the Gothtopia tie-in, which this book wasn't bad. I thought it was a good book. However, I really miss the artist on this book, and I forgot who the regular artist is on here, but I think it is, yeah, Jason Masters. And if you read Batwing, you kind of know what I'm talking about. In this book, there's a lot of heavy inks in here. Don't get true facial expressions, which totally brought the book down for me from its usual artist. It's usually a lot more detailed, a lot more facial expressions. I really enjoyed that from the book. And in this tie-in, you get to see Batwing, who is exposed to Scarecrow's Gothopian gas, or whatever you want to call it, that makes everything all peachy keen and nice. He finally, you know, he gets on to what has happened. And in the issue, you see that his father's experiencing some side effects from the gas and whatnot, and he's trying to resolve the situation and find out what's going on. In the book, also, you get the reintroduction to this guy again. I forgot his name, who uses the I think it's the Viper Serum, and it was Luke Fox's best friend who was picked on in school, the bullying issue that happened a few issues ago. So he makes his return in here, and I don't know, this was good, but it could have been better, I thought, with better artwork and whatnot. And I like the Gothtopia story. I think it's very well done. I thought it was interesting, especially in the Detective Comics issue, which we'll talk about later. And this was pretty good too, but I thought it could be better. And I thought by the time we got to the end of this, again, it felt generic, and I was just disappointed with the ending. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5 as well. This was okay. It's a solid 3. So now moving on, we're going to go on to the top 10, and number 10 is Swamp Thing issue number 27. That's right, guys. Pretty good. I want to say that. Sorry about that. My camera was acting funny. Swamp Thing 27 had to do. It looks like the end of the Cedar. Jason Woodrow. This was a solid issue. If there was issues that were starting to be good, this was the one. Alec Hodlund spends his whole time in this issue trying to figure out how to get back to Earth. He wants to be that avatar of the green again. And he's talking with people that are part of the retired avatars, if you say. And he's trying to get back to become the avatar of the green, like I already said. And he talks to different people or avatars or whatnot, and he finds out that he has to go through the Parliament of Trees, and he basically destroys the Parliament. And what happens is it's all a setup, and let's just say that Alec Holland pretty much destroys the Cedar in this issue without a contest. And this is something that he should have done to begin with about 2 issues back. And again, you get to see that. But it's like what happens is, I don't know, they show the whole Earth being green or whatnot. So we'll see where that goes. Interesting issue. I enjoyed it. Again, the Parliament's dead, and it looks like Alec Holland is true Avatar of the Green now. So we'll see where this series goes. This was pretty good. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So moving forward, we're going to go to number 9. And number 9 was Forever Evil tie-in, and that is Arkham War issue number 4. This was pretty cool. You get to see the resurrection or the thawing or Bane bringing back the actual Talon from the Talon series. And he is Bane's sidekick. And Bane is pretty much being the Batman of Gotham now, since Gotham doesn't have a Batman. He's basically in control of Gotham, and it's a stepping stone for him to control the world. And he's putting the Talon in charge of everything. This book was really interesting. I liked where Arkham War is actually going. It's a fun read. Bane dressed up as a hulked up Batman, I think it's really fun. And let's see, Tomasi's the writer. I enjoyed it. It's fun. You get all the Batman's rogues in here, one way or the other, and it's really a contest between Bane and Scarecrow on who's going to take control of Gotham. And you think that Bane actually has the upper hand, but by the time you get to the end of the issue, you see that Scarecrow has his army that's ready for battle as well, and it's a whole bunch of Talons, and you get to see that on the last page. So there is a couple more issues that have to, that are in play here for this series, but I'm enjoying this. This is fun. But however, there was a lot more books out there that were better than this, and I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So with that being said, we're gonna move on. And we're gonna move on to number 8. And number 8 is bam, Earth 2, issue number 19. What can I say about Earth 2? There wasn't a lot of progression in the issue, but the issue itself is really good. Again, you get to see Dark Superman here doing his thing, still beating people up, taking care of people, but there wasn't really much in here. All we find out is the parademons are basically taking over the Earth, and this is going to become, I forgot the planet's name, but it's going to be the new Darkseid planet, and whatnot, the apocalypse. And you got Aquaman woman here who finds out that there is a person beneath the ground here, and it's a Kryptonian. And I think his name was, I'm trying to remember the kid's name, but it's a kid, and he's a Kryptonian, and it looks like that he's going to hopefully help our heroes here against Darkseid or Superman or whatnot. So this is the kid's name right here. And when you find out he's Kryptonian, you're like, holy crap, the kid's Kryptonian, you know? And I'm trying to figure out the kid's name, and I can't remember who it is, and it's kind of driving me a little crazy, so I'm going to find out. Yeah, man, I can't. I think I'm going to say it's Val or something like that. But anyway, but the book, again, the artwork is phenomenal here. I love seeing Dark Superman just taking over, destroying the world, nation's capital, things like that. It's just a fun book to read. It's so much better than what it used to be, I thought. Now that you got Batman in there and Dark Superman and whatnot, and really a great read. And it's going to be interesting to see if this new Kryptonian can destroy Darkseid or Superman or whatnot. So fun stuff here. Really enjoyed it. Again, I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Again, just not much progression in here, but it is okay. It's a great book to look at, and you're always anxiously waiting to read the next issue. Whereas before, you're like, oh, here we go again, So, all right, so we're going to move on to number 7. Make sure that's right. Yep, number 7. And number 7 was Green Arrow, issue number 27. Now, this continues the Outsiders War, book 2. This book was great. I love the cover here, going against the Shield clan. That's what Oliver McQueen goes through in this issue. And great interactions here between Oliver McQueen and Shadow, constantly saying that you've been put here for a reason. You know deep down inside you have. And I love that interaction between them, and I don't think he really wants to accept what has happened here. But in this issue, there's always great paneling. The artwork is phenomenal. It separates itself from other books, and we get to see Shadow and Oliver McQueen go against these Shield clan members. And at first they seem to have a little bit of a tough time against them, but Oliver McQueen and Shadow handle them nicely. In the book, you get to see Katana, and I'm like, oh no, please, not Katana. I'm like, please don't ruin this book, So we're gonna see how she fits in this whole thing. This is the one thing that ruined it, because are they sliding her in here just to try to promote her book or give her book sales? So I was like, oh, please, no Katana. So I wasn't happy about that. But again, the paneling and the artwork is phenomenal. Love seeing Arrow. Love seeing Shadow in here, and just really great stuff. I really love that. Again, lots of action. There wasn't a whole ton of story in this book, but it felt like a really quick read. But when I got done reading it, I was like, man, that is awesome. I'm like, I really enjoyed it. Because by the time you get to the end of the book, and this is a huge spoiler for the series, for if you haven't read the series yet or this issue, is that you find out that Oliver McQueen's father is still alive, and he was behind everything from the beginning when he arrived at the island. I was like, whoa, that is huge. So I really enjoyed that. I'm like, man, phenomenal stuff right there. Can't wait to see what happens. This is turning out to be a really great event for Green Arrow. So I really enjoyed that one. I'm going to give that one a 4 out of 5. So really fun stuff. So moving on, we go on to number 6. And number 6 is Black Widow. Just missed that top 5 stuff. But there was other books that I felt that was good or better. And this book has good potential. This is something different from the character that we really haven't seen. And I think this is going to go into a little bit more depth of Natasha as a human than the superhero, which I'm kind of excited about. This book was really interesting because you get to see that espionage type of thing when when she goes into battle or whatnot or under a job. And I like the artwork in here. The artwork was good. However, I think what threw me off a little bit in here was the colors. The colors really blended in a lot. So if you didn't have that white outline in there would not be you wouldn't be able to tell the background from the actual character. They would have blended in extremely. But this was really good. Again, you get to see the character of who she is, what she kind of goes through. You see her go through a mission. And I think as an introduction to the series, I think it went well. And by the time you get to the end of it, you get to see her bond with a little cat. And I thought that was interesting too. And it made you feel like, okay, well, she's just not this hard ass, killer or assassin. She's kind of a human, and it kind of stripped a layer from her. So I really enjoyed that aspect. Now, where the series goes from here, I'm not really sure. Hopefully, it continues to get better and does not decline. I love the last panel here, though. You see the Black Widow spider there, and she's looking at it. Just really cool stuff. And again, hopefully, this continues to be a good series, and it progresses, and it just doesn't get cheesy or old. So, really great stuff here. So, same thing. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. So moving on now, we go on to our top 5. Number 5, and that is Manifest Destiny, issue number 3. When I picked up this issue, I was like, what are these like plant creatures? So if you read the last issue, you're like, okay, now we're getting introduced to like zombies, but they're like plant creatures. So I'm reading a thing in between Walking Dead and Swamp Thing. That's what I felt like I was reading here. Well, that's what was my first impression. So we get to see Lewis and Clark. They're stuck in this actual fortress, and you get to see that in this issue. And they got nowhere to go because you got these bull-like minotaur creatures waiting to eat them and destroy them, and yet they're trapped in this place with these these swamp creatures. And what this series provided, or this issue provided for this series, was the mystery that you've been looking for, the answers that you've been looking for, and it blended it with great action. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The artwork continues to deliver for me. I really enjoyed it as well. Colors are nice. Paneling was really good. Here you get to see more. But you get to see Lewis and Clark go against these plant-like creatures, and you kind of can't kill them, guys. It's like, hey, we're gonna slice your arm off, poke holes through your body, but you're kind of not gonna die. And you get one of the creatures that barfs all over this one guy, and we're still waiting to see if he actually gets infected, because he doesn't get infected in the book yet. So the only way to kill these plant creatures is to burn them, and you get to see that. And we get to see our heroes come across the few villagers that are left here in this town, and then you get to hear the backstory of these particular plant humans or creatures or whatever it is, and what has happened to the town. I really like the flashbacks here. It goes into a pure black and white with a tannish color as you're reading the flashbacks of what happened to all the villagers and how they got this disease or whatnot. And by the time you get to the end of this particular issue, you find out that there is another person that looks like that is going to take on these buffalo creatures. but we don't know who she is yet. So how this all fits together, I don't know. I have no idea where this book is going, and how it all ties together, how these guys are going to get off this island, this city. Well, I just don't know, but somehow there's something here that I'm digging about this series, and I really think it's the mystery that it provides for the reader, and it's something that's completely different. So really like it. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 as well. So with that, moving on, we're going to go on to our fourth best book of the week, and number 4 is The Walking Dead, issue number 119. Yep, in the last issue, you get to see the death of Shiva, and Shiva is Ezekiel's tiger. So you get to see that happen, and you get to see the ramifications and what has happened to Ezekiel's ego, or what, his, I guess, his psyche after the tiger has passed away. And it kind of falls back in the last issue too as well, on how everyone fared against Negan's outpost, how everyone got, whoever got killed or whatnot. And again, Michonne is kind of like the love interest with Ezekiel. They're really close with each other. And Ezekiel doesn't know how to deal with the loss because the tiger is kind of his family member, and he really doesn't know how to deal with the whole situation. But as the issue goes on, you get to see a great interaction between the two. And Michonne kind of literally punches Ezekiel in the face and says, "You got to snap back into it. Do the thing that you do best and don't act like a pussy." I mean, that's what she says to him, and really great stuff. Rick knows that Negan is going to come eventually, and it comes sooner than later. And we all know that Holly was held hostage in the last issue, and she was getting raped, and Negan spared her life. And you think that everything was fair and happy-go-lucky, and Negan makes his approach to, to Rick's community once again, and says, "Rick, come out wherever you are." He goes, "I got something for you. Let's talk." And you're like, "Oh, okay, he's going to give Holly back because he's kept, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. Carl alive. He's kept numerous other people alive. And, well, for this one particular instance, by the time you get to the end of the book, there's Holly right there. And you're like, oh boy, he's being nice again. He's handing Holly over. Well, that's not the case this time. Hold on, there's spoilers, so just fast forward a few seconds. By the time you get to the end of the book, you see this. Holly became a zombie. And you don't know how it happened, but I didn't see it coming. I was like, holy crap. Here you see this. You're like, oh shit, she's walking, he's handing her over. She can't talk. There's no dialogue coming from her mouth in the issue. And you're sitting there going, well, I think maybe she's gagged, or he did something sick, like take out her voice box or something like that. But somehow he suffocated her. He did something to her because she's dead and she became a zombie. And right away she bites Denise, which is the doctor of the community. And Negan's like, attack! And that's how it ends. And you're like, oh shit. So things are starting to heat up now here in All Out War with The Walking Dead. This was a fantastic book. Really, really good. Great story in between here. Not perfect. Because always, I thought that it was a pretty good issue. It was an average issue until the end happened. So it bumped it up to a 4 for me. So I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. So now moving on to our top 3. And our number 3 is Batman Detective Comics, issue number 27. 75 years of Mr. Bruce Wayne, or Batman, and this automatically got in the top 3. This was like, okay, I don't even have to read it. It's going to be in the top 3. Reason being that if you're a comic book fan, you're going to like Detective Comics issue 27. If you're a huge Batman fan, you're going to love Detective Comics 27. There's a story here for everybody. And that's what makes this so good. Now, this was an $8 book, but it's worth your money. It's got some pages. This is like a trade paperback right here, guys. Really worth the money. Glossy cover. If you had a chance, you could have got the alternative cover that had Catwoman on there as well. But I didn't like that one. I like this book. You know, Capullo's art, can't go wrong without it. So really liked it. Again, great stories here. It's got Brad Meltzer, Greg Hurwitz, Peter J. Tomasi, Mike Barr, John Layman, Scott Snyder. I mean, you guys, you can't beat it. There's great stories here, different artwork from different artists, and there is going to be a story here. There was one story here. I love this. You get the blue and gray costume. Like, when was the last time you saw that? And then there's this one right here where I love this old school. I loved it. This was phenomenal. Really enjoyed that. Love this, classic paneling, classic dialogue. Just, again, there's going to be something here for everyone. Look at this. Look at that right there. So great. Oh my God, I loved it. And then you get the main story in here that has to go with what's going on currently, and that has to do with the Gothtopia story. And when I first heard of Gothtopia, I'm sitting there going, what is this? Is this like an alternate story, a different world? Because that's what it seemed like, and that's what it seemed like when you first started reading it. So I'm sitting there going, wow, he's got like this grayish, whitish costume, and then you got, Catwoman in there, and I'm like, what? And it was like, that's Catbird, but for some reason, Catbird kind of worked. She was like this sexy, in a way, you kind of wanted these two to hook up and be partners all along type of thing, and I like that. And then you get, Batwoman and Batgirl in there as well, but their names are all different, like Bluebell and Bright Bat, and I'm just like, what is this world? But it's like Gotham, all perfect. Crime is down, everything is great, and it's just like even Bruce Wayne is sitting there going, well, why am I doing this anymore? And but suicide attempts are up in the actual story. And you're like, well, why is that? But then as I was reading more, I'm like, there's something about this, because you saw like, different types of paneling and whatnot. I'm like, I bet you Scarecrow's behind this. And as I was reading, sure enough, it's Scarecrow behind the whole thing, and everything becomes back to normal in a way because Batman figures everything out. And, as much as I liked the Gothtopia story, I thought it was very predictable about who's behind the whole thing. And hopefully the stories that tie into all this will be just as good. You get Batwing 27, Batgirl 27, Catwoman 27, and Birds of Prey issue number 28 that continue these stories. And after reading Batwing issue 27, I thought it was okay, but it wasn't great. And I really wanted it to be great. And the reason why I like this issue so much in this book was because this was something different, a little bit refreshing from the original Batman title, which is the only Bat title that I read. I thought it was refreshing to see a different story besides Batman Zero Year. And that's why I did like this a lot more, than the Batwing title. Hopefully these other tie-ins are not cheese whiz, and I hope they continue to hold that expectation that I had for this when I was done with it. So, but overall as an issue, this is something that's really good. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm sure not every story in here is great, but it's a great thing for a Batman fan. And if you're a Batman fan, you're going to love everything about this. So 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. I'm not a gigantic Batman fan. I like Batman, But you guys know who I'm a fan of, and that is, you know, Spider-Man, which is coming back. Yeah, baby. Peter Parker's coming back, and I'm excited about that. I cannot wait for April. All right, moving forward. Number 2 on this week's list is Cataclysm, The Ultimate's Last Stand, issue number 3. Cataclysm, in my opinion, the main storyline is the best Marvel event from last year. I know it started last year and it's carrying over to this year, but out of all the events I've read so far, this is my favorite event out of everything. Even though it doesn't take place in 616, it takes place in Ultimate Universe. In this issue, you have to see, you get to witness Reed Richards go back with Miles Morales to Earth 616, which was awesome to see in Ultimate Comics book going back into that time. And you kind of get to feel for Reed Richards here because he sees his family in that universe. He gets to see everything, and he kind of has an epiphany, you know, like, dude, I'm going to be a good guy now. I thought was great. And, you know, you feel the weight of the shoulders on Miles Morales in this particular issue, being that he has to save the Earth. Dude, no pressure here. And if Reed Richards, you know, goes haywire, he's given permission by Iron Man to repulsor blast his ass. So which was cool to see as well. But again, you get to see our heroes go to the Baxter building from Earth 616. And again, you get to see Reed Richards go in and see his whole family. And one of the touching moments here was you get to see Valerie, or you know, you get to see her, and he sees his daughter, and he's like, "Holy cow! I can't believe that." And I kind of like this. She's holding a Spider-Ham doll. If you guys didn't see that, I thought that was pretty awesome as well. But they find out who Galactus is, and you know what he's about, and how he's going to destroy the Earth, and I just loved it. And then you get to see a whole bunch of Robbie robots go in and try to destroy Miles as well, which was really cool. Great action scenes. I thought that the Mark Bagley work in this issue was phenomenal. I thought it was done really, really good. He's a great artist. I've always loved his art way back in Amazing Spider-Man, you know, doing New Warriors, I think, and in his run in Ultimate Spider-Man as well. So seeing him back on the title, I thought was really, really good. And by the time we get to the end of this issue, we get to see, you know, that basically the world's coming to an end, and you know these guys got to stop them. But you saw emotion from Reed, which was awesome, and I really enjoyed this issue. This did get a 5 stars for me. When I got done reading this book, I put it down and I actually read this before. No, I read Ultimate Comic Spider-Man before I read this. And after I read this, I actually put it on top of the pile and said, this is number 1. But today, when I woke up and I was thinking about it some more, I'm sitting here going, there's something better than this. And it's because it's the emotional attachment that that I could relate to between Miles and his father. And it was this book, obviously, now that you know, is number 1 for the week. And if you read this book, there was this emotional moment between Miles Morales and his father. And, you know, I can only imagine if my son was out there saving the world, or this hero, and he came up to me, he goes, "Dad, I want to get you safe." And I pushed my son away. I don't know if I could ever do that. And I'm just sitting there, just the father-son moments in this book was just phenomenal, and I really enjoyed it. And that's what made this book my number 1 pick this week, just for that sure reason alone. I mean, the artwork is great. Dave Marquez is the is the artist in this book, just like how he was in the Ultimate Comic Spider-Man run. And you know, Brian Michael Bendis has done a great job. And, you know, in the introduction to this book, you see this airplane flying right to Galactus. And it's Miles' job here to basically save the people that crash into this plane, but at the same time, try to save his, you know, father and get him to safety. And he was willing to unmask himself and tell his father and risk his relationship just to save his dad. And, you know, and that's what he tries to do in this particular issue. And his father's like, you killed your mother, you killed your brother, you've done all this stuff. I mean, he did, or you killed your uncle. I mean, he's did all this stuff, but in the end, he's got to get his dad to safety. So it really represents who Miles Morales is, and it reminds you of the selfishness, the unselfishness that he represents as a character here. You know, as the issue goes along, he goes around unmasked because he feels, well, what's the point if the whole world is going to be destroyed? But Jessica Drew convinces him to put back on the mask, and you get to see Cloak and Dagger and Bombshell come back in this series or in this issue to save people, to save the Earth, to do the best job that they possibly can. And you know, Cloak and Dagger and Bombshell, you know, they're all in this series for a reason. They've been really pushing them forward, and if you guys have read the news, you'll know why. You know what's going to happen because the Ultimates is coming back as these characters. So interesting stuff here. But by the time you get to this issue, it's going to be continued in Cataclysm issue number 4. And this is officially the end of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. So this was a great run for the series. I thought this was a phenomenal run. I didn't read from issue 1 all the way till now. I read from issue, what are we on here? I don't even remember, but I read from the Venom series, and I thought that was great. Um, I'm sad to see this series go, but this was my book of the week. I just great stuff. Number 5. I'm like speechless. I don't even know what to say. So I apologize if I feel, you know, a little rusty. I haven't been into the reviewing swing of things for the past week, so I'm kind of a little bit, you know, lost on thought of words here, but a lot of things going on. But guys, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the patience. And as always, guys, you've seen the worst. You've seen the best. Leave your comments below on what your favorite comic book of the week was and what your worst pick of the week was. And until the next comic book review, which I swear to God will be this week, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. And I'll see you guys real soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.